Hello and welcome back to The Bard Review, the perfect start to your Sunday morning here at the Barn Theatre. I'm Benjamin Collins and I'm delighted as ever to be joined by the series co-producer Aaron Sidwell. Aaron, what have we got in store for us this week?
Well, this week we are delving into the history books. Shakespeare was a great lover of writing history plays, and he treated us to some of the greatest ever.
I imagine that writing these plays back when he did was quite controversial, the choices that he made.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to start with, he had to be very careful not to get on the bad side of Queen Elizabeth because, it would have been quite an easy thing to do back then. In fact, he never actually wrote about her family until she passed away. Of course, Henry VIII was one of his last, or was certainly his last history play. I mean, the fact that, the way that royalty were viewed and the way that they were treated back then meant that some of his stories weren't necessarily accurate, shall we say, retellings. They were a very one-sided affair, often in favour of the home team, should we say.
Yeah, and what was it? The Henriade was we see it now, or it's been interpreted now, to be a sort of a story written to justify the Tudor reign. That's the way it's seen by scholars and stuff, in a similar way to Edmund Spenser's Fairy Queen that I was reading the other day. That's just what I get up to on a typical evening. And Shakespeare played the game right, Christopher Marlowe not so much, and that's why he had some trouble. But anyway, I think the audience members here at the Barn will remember the Dauphin in our Henry V, and those who haven't seen it, please go and check it out on our YouTube and Facebook pages. But before that, let's see who we've got on the show first.
First up this week, we are joined by Meg Lewis and Mark Rees. Welcome both. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, good.
I've got a question for you, Meg. We saw in Series 1 that Richard II obviously was locked away as a video blogger in Series 1. But now we see him again in this lockdown world, forced to give up this time what she loves. Was it fun to play a political figure within this world?
Oh my God, yeah, definitely. And when we first had the play, we talked a lot about doing something political with it. But I think it was really interesting to take what is really well known as a political play and make it work for today, and not just for like the 21st century, but also with coronavirus and everything that's going on there. We really wanted to bring it down and make it more relatable to the everyday people.
Well, there we go.
And Mark, I suppose some people may know, some people may not, but the character that you play in this, Henry Bolingbroke, becomes Henry IV, and is obviously the father of Henry V. And it's always been bizarre for me. I've never quite made the connection between him as Bolingbroke and him as Henry IV Plantagenet. I don't know. It's weird. Do they feel like completely separate characters to you within these?
Yeah, I think there's between the plays. I think there's some transformation that the character goes through, because it's kind of like an evolution that is kind of happening off stage, and it's something that we wanted to address in this piece, was that it's someone of power, but it could be anyone. It's bringing it, as Meg said, bringing it to the everyday man, and it's striving for something that is slightly out of your reach, but it's kind of within grasp, and the underhanded methods people go to kind of one-up people and take advantage of someone in times of need, like coronavirus or whatever those circumstances might be. And Bolingbroke in this piece is kind of capitalizing on the fact that Richard is going through quite hard times in coronavirus and is trying to seize power of something that she, in this case, she loves. But yeah, no, it's something that's always baffled me with the characters. There's definitely a gear shift between plays.
Yeah, definitely. A friend of mine played Bolingbroke at the Globe, I believe, and then he last year was playing Henry V around the same time that I was, and we were chatting loads about it. And he was saying, it's weird because I'm playing this character now, and theoretically I've played the dad, but he was like, I don't really feel like I have. They do feel fairly disconnected. But we're going to check out the video now. This is Meg Lewis and Mark Rees in Richard II, directed by Alistair Knights.
why am I sent for to a king before I've shook off the regal thoughts wherewith I reigned? I hardly yet have learned to insinuate, flatter, bow, and bend my limbs. Give sorrow leave a while to tutor me to this submission. God save the king, although I be not he, and yet amen if heaven do think in me. To do what service am I sent for hither?
To do that office of thine own goodwill. The tired majesty did make thee offer. The resignation of thy state and crown.
This golden crown like a deep well that owes two buckets filling one another. The emptier ever dancing in the air, the other down, unseen and full of water. That bucket down and full of tears am I, drinking my griefs whilst you mount up on high.
I thought you had been willing to resign.
My crown I am, but still my griefs are mine.
Part of your cares you give me with your crown.
Your cares set up do not pluck my cares down. My care is loss of care by old care done. Your care is gain of care by new care won. The cares I give, I have, though given away. They tend the crown, yet still with me they stay.
Are you contented to resign the crown?
I. No, I. For I must nothing be. Therefore, no, for I resign to thee. Now mark me how I will undo myself. With mine own tears, I wash away my balm. With mine own hands, I give away my crown. With mine own tongue, deny my sacred state. With mine own breath, release all duty's rights. All pomp and majesty I do forswear. My manners, rents, revenues I forego. My acts, decrees, statutes I deny. God pardon all oaths that are broke to me. God keep all vows unbroke that swear to thee. What more remains?
No more. But that you read these accusations and grievous crimes against the state and profit of this land.
If thy offences were upon record, would it not shame thee in so fair a troop to read a lecture of them?
My lord, dispatch. Read over these articles.
Mine eyes are full of tears, I cannot see. And yet salt water blinds them not so much, but they can see a sort of traitors here.
My lord.
No lord of thine, thou haught insulting man, nor no man's lord. I have no name, no title, no, not that name was given me at the font, but 'tis usurped. Alack, the heavy day that I have worn so many winters out, and yet know not now what name to call myself. It is very true, my grief lies all within, and these external manners of laments are merely shadows to the unseen grief that swells with silence in the tortured soul. I'll beg one boon. Shall I obtain it?
Name it, fair cousin.
Fair cousin, I am greater than a king, for when I was king, my flatterers were then but subjects, being now a subject. I have a king here to my flatterer. Being so great, I have no need to beg.
Yet, ask.
Shall I have?
You shall.
Then give me leave to go.
Whither?
Whither you will, so I were from your sights.
Go.
We now have Colin Ryan with us. Welcome to the Bard Review, Colin.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
No worries. This was quite an unconventional duologue. Can you tell us a bit about like what you guys have done with this?
Yeah, so we were given King John, which I don't think, no, I've never seen a production of it. So I was coming to it totally fresh, totally new. So I read the play, and it is an amazing play actually. but it's a very specific play to a very certain period of history, and it's about. God, am I going to try and summarize the whole thing? So King John is on the throne, but France are laying claim to the throne because King John's, bear with me, older brother, his nephew is a claimant to the throne. So it's kind of like the conflict between who should be the King of England. And it's the scope of it is absolutely massive, and like trying to pinpoint a few scenes or a scene to try and kind of set in a quarantine setting, in lockdown setting, was very difficult. But while I was reading it, there were certain lines that would ping out as kind of just being really kind of descriptive as to the situation that we were all in. So I had the idea to kind of string all of these lines together to create a kind of a little film to kind of describe the situation that we're all facing. So it's a kind of amalgamation of like lots of different characters, different scenes throughout the play, to kind of create our own narrative, basically.
That's awesome. Well, Colin, you'll always be a favourite here because you edited the video yourself.
I did. Yes.
You have lots of, it's. I think maybe lots of people are picking up various skills that they had before, that they didn't have before. Sorry, you probably have been editing for a while, but tell me about the process of putting this together and your main inspiration for this scene itself.
Oh wow. Okay, so I mean, this is the first thing I've kind of like edited.
Oh, there we go.
Edited, really? Yeah. I mean, because I've always done kind of like self tapes and things, kind of just using iMovie. But yeah, because a lot of our film has a lot of footage, like a lot of news footage. Yeah. So I was kind of like pulling all these things together and just kind of putting them in a random order. And then the more that the time went on, I was like, I'm just going to kind of have a go at editing it myself. Yeah. And yeah, kind of just got a bit carried away, which was actually a really lovely, rewarding process. Like it's extremely creative. And you can kind of see the results of what you are doing there, and then it's very kind of instant. Yeah, so that's something I'd love to kind of carry on. So yeah, a new skill that I've picked up because of
be careful saying that around here. But I'm glad you've got the editing bug. This is Colin Ryan and Patrick Quinn in King John, directed by Paul Anthony.
Wherefore do you droop? Why look you sad?
Indeed, I've been merrier.
Where is the blood that I've seen inhabiting those cheeks?
With my vexed spirits, I cannot take a truce, but they will quake and tremble all this day.
17, 1 o'clock. Work fast, leave the chest, let's go.
Now, by my life, this day grows wondrous hot. Some airy devil hovers in the sky and pours down mischief. Now my soul hath elbow room.
With the known number of UK cases now standing at 90, should we be doing more?
Closing schools and stopping big gatherings don't work as well, perhaps, as people think.
It is not so. Thou hast misspoke, misheard. It cannot be.
Our advice on
Let us but say it is so.
Closures remains pretty much.
I may not trust thee, for thy word is but the vain breath of a common man.
At the moment.
Are you withholding information?
No, not at all. Let me clear that up.
Yeah.
Believe me, I do not believe thee, man.
That
I have a
we are
king's oath to the
trying
contrary.
Understand that we're I've been going around hospitals, as you can imagine, and I think you always shake hands.
Mad world. Mad kings.
I shook hands with everybody.
Smart guy.
Mad composition.
A load of old flannel. Shambles.
Fellow be gone. I cannot brook thy sight.
Commodity. The bias of the world. Makes the world take head from all indifferency, from all direction, purpose, course, intent.
And why rail you on this commodity?
But for because he has not wooed you yet.
Well, whiles I am a beggar, I will rail and say there is no sin but to be rich.
And being rich, my virtue then shall
Be to say that there is no vice but beggary.
Since kings have faith to break commodity, gain be my lord, for I shall worship thee.
It comes from China. China. It's not racist at all. No, not at all. From China. I want to be.
This act is an ancient tale new told.
I have great love.
What say this young one? What say your nephew?
Life is as tedious as a twice-told tale.
There's toys abroad, and I'll tell thee more.
Out of his rags. Here is a large mouth indeed. Talks his familiarity of roaring lions as maids of 13 do puppy dogs. He gives the baston out of his tongue. Our ears are cudgelled. Zoons. I was never so bethumped with words.
Time to make some noise for our carers.
England we love, and for that England with burden of their armour they do sweat. What can go well when we have run so ill? Are we not beaten? Divers dear friends slain, and bloody England into England gone?
The Prime Minister has been moved from the intensive care unit where he has spent the last 3 nights.
Indeed, we thought his sickness was past cure.
I do not ask you much. I beg cold comfort, and you are so straight and so ungrateful you deny me that.
Alas, what need you be so boisterous rough?
Everyone knows that communicating well is going to create a better relationship.
Yes. Forgive the comment that my passion made upon thy feature, for my rage was blind. Oh, brief then what's the news?
The number of COVID hospital admissions is falling. The number of patients in ICU is falling. We've so far succeeded in the first and most important task we set ourselves to avoid the tragedy that engulfed other parts of the world.
England, thou hast not saved one drop of blood in this hot trial more than we have France. Rather lost more.
Went without a ventilator. No patient.
The national debt is rising. Overwhelm the NHS, ticking cancer time bomb.
I think it's a very nasty question.
Many people across the country will be struggling with their mental health.
Preach me some philosophy to make me mad.
It is our safety, and we must embrace this gentle offer of the perilous time.
I'm not mad. I would to God I were. And then 'tis like I should forget myself. If I could, what grief should I forget?
Bearing in mind that a salon is a pretty warm environment, I can already see the issue. Tell people at home in case you can't see that. Okay, so the goggles are fogging up. Okay, now they're completely fogged. Right, so Sam, this is difficult. Yeah.
Be great in act, as you have been in thought. Be stirring as the time, be fire with fire. Show boldness and aspiring confidence.
We are now joined by director Nick Evans and actor Ollie Tennant. Hi guys, how you doing?
Great, thanks. Nice to join you.
Not too bad.
So this play was our Shakespeare debut here at the Barn, and it's obviously very close to our heart. And we thought you did a phenomenal job with it. You know, as everyone who comes into contact with Henry V, you know, always seems to, you know, that muse of fire seems to get in you one way or another. So I was going to ask Nick, what was it about this scene that drew you towards it in particular?
Well, it was a process of elimination, really. I mean, there's been so many great versions, including yours, of Henry V, and so often what's focused on is the kind of the nation state and the notion of an army. But when you actually go back to the play, what you realise is that so much of it is about fighting the seen enemy and leaving to go and do battle. And of course, what we found was we were trying to look at the idea of isolation and staying at home and not leaving home. And I remember seeing Henry V. I was in youth theatre with an actor called Michael Sheen, and going to see him in Stratford when he played Hal. And he played him as Welsh, which obviously was close to my heart. But I remember the scene that really stood out was that notion when he went to be with the ordinary people, his soldiers, his frontline soldiers. So we started to think about that and to think about the fact that we'd been through a process where our leader, in terms of the nation, had been sort of taken out of the front line and was on a hospital ward. So we were trying to play with the idea of what happens when the people in power get close to the ordinary people, which it seemed like the crisis had done for all kinds of political leaders.
Absolutely, and I think the really interesting thing with that scene is the disguising himself, and you know the mingling among people. It's such a fascinating scene to see a king do that. It's just, you know, absolutely incredible. Ollie, I must say, welcome to the I've Played Henry V Club. It's a fantastic place to be, trust me. Did you enjoy your time playing Henry?
I loved it, and I think as a starting point, it was great to work on something that was very much a collaboration with each other, and we had quite a common ground on what kind of story we wanted to tell, rather than, I suppose, just, I guess, doing it for the sake of it, the sort of what was the point of it. And I think it was so interesting because I think quite often as people, we only get to speculate. We don't that often get to fully explore and understand, especially those that are far removed from ourselves, understand their perspective. I think with Hal, his whole outlook, he's so confident in his resolve. He knows what he wants to achieve, and he knows the reasons for doing that. But I suppose his foot soldiers, they see what they see and they read what they read, and it's very difficult to understand the humanity behind the leader, which I think is massive at the moment. And we all have our own personal political opinions, but it's interesting to sort of think who's the man or woman or person behind those decisions. So I think, yeah, it was great. It was brilliant.
Amazing. Well, this is Nathan Amsey and Oliver Tennant in Henry V, directed by Nick Evans.
So he has lasting symptoms. The hospitals there are just going to be checking him out.
We will defeat this disease, and it will not take long.
To wage all-out war to defeat the virus, this horrible, horrible virus. We'll be invoking the Defence Production Act.
So let's go back to some positive news. The Prime Minister has been moved from the intensive care unit where he has spent the last 3 nights at St Thomas's Hospital.
Is not that the morning which breaks yonder?
I think it be. We have no great cause to desire the approach of day. We yonder see the beginning of day, but I think we shall never see the end of it. Who goes there?
A friend.
Under what captain serve you?
Under Sir Thomas Erpingham.
A most kind gentleman. I pray you, what thinks he of our estate?
Even as men wrecked upon a sand that looked to be washed off the next tide.
Has he not told his thought to the king?
No, nor it is not meet he should. For though I speak it to you, I think the king is but a man, as I am. The violet smells to him as it does to me. The element shows to him as it does to me. All his senses have but human conditions. His ceremonies laid by, in his nakedness he appears but a man. And though his affections are higher mounted than ours, yet when they stoop with the like wing. Therefore, when he sees reason of fear, as we do, his fears out of doubt be of the same relish as ours are, yet in reason no man should possess him with any appearance of fear, lest he, by showing it, should dishearten his army.
He may show what outward courage he will, but I believe as cold as night as 'tis he could wish himself in the Thames up to the neck, and so I would he were, and I by him at all adventures, so we were quit here.
By my troth, I will speak my conscience of the king. I think he would not wish himself anywhere but where he is.
Then I would he were here alone, and many a poor man's life saved.
I dare say you love him not so ill to wish him here alone, howsoever you speak this to feel other men's minds. Methinks I could not die anywhere so contented as in the king's company, his cause being just and his quarrel honourable.
That's more than we know, or more than we should seek after, for we know enough if we are the king's subjects. If his cause be wrong, our obedience to the king wipes the crime of it out of us. But if the cause not be good, the king himself hath a heavy reckoning to make, when all those legs and arms and heads lost in the battle shall join together at the latter day and cry, "We died at such a place." Some swearing, some crying for a surgeon, some upon their wives left poor behind them, some upon the debts they owe, some upon their children rawly left, and I'm afeard there are few that die well that die in battle. Now if these men do not die well, it will be a black matter for the king that led them to it, who to disobey were against all proportion of subjection.
Every subject's duty is the king's, but every subject's soul is his own. Therefore should every soldier in the wars do as every sick man in his bed, wash every mote out of his conscience, and dying so, death is to him advantage, or not dying, the time was blessedly lost, wherein such preparation was gained.
It is certain that every man who dies ill, the ill upon his own head. The king is not to answer for it.
Your reproof is something too round. I should be angry with you, if the time were convenient.
Let it be a quarrel between us, if you live.
We are joined by Jessica Dennis and Matthew Kahn. Welcome to the Bard Review. How are you guys?
Hello. Oh, everyone talking at the same time. Thank you very much.
Good.
You guys worked with Richard Corrigan, who did quite a lot for us in Series 1 on this scene from Julius Caesar. Can you tell us a little bit about the context of it and how it all came about? Jessica, I'll throw it to you first.
Sure. I think Richard was quite clever in the way that he picked the scene, because he picked something that was an opening. So often you'll know with Shakespeare stuff, you don't get straight into the big characters. You've actually got some setup of what's happening. So actually neither of us are playing anybody massively recognizable. We're playing two very normal people dealing with a situation. And I think he made it relate to our situation really brilliantly, came in with a really clear idea of how it was all going to work. It was great.
Amazing. And Matthew, you know, kind of having just stepped out of drama school, having to film in this bizarre way of having nobody there. How was that for you?
That was it was an interesting challenge. Definitely, it's the kind of thing that I guess happens quite often in the industry, in sort of film world. But it's not something that I'd say a lot of drama schools would really prepare you for. I'd say so that it was just a fun challenge to be trying to talk to a crowd. A lot of, you know, looking at me like I'm some crazy dude, whilst also speaking up to a window where there's no one there. Yeah, it was really good fun. Good fun.
Amazing. Well, I thought when I first saw the version of the scene, it was one of those, like you said, Jess, it was one of those things that I was like, oh, I don't really know this one from Julius Caesar. Like, you know, there's so many memorable plays. You think of like Brutus and Mark Antony and stuff like that. So I hopefully this one, you know, will add a bit more weight to Julius Caesar, the play, for the audience here.
Indeed. All right, let's head right into it. This is Jessica Dennis and Matthew Kahn playing two very normal people in Julius Caesar, directed by Bartram the Bard regular, Richard Corgan.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson has now been discharged from hospital.
This virus has never been proven to exist.
I think we will be living in a far worse dystopian version of Nazi Germany now.
If you look up radiation poisoning, the effects of that and the effects of COVID-19,
Hence, home, you idle creatures, get you home. Is this a holiday? What? Oh no, you're not being mechanical. You ought not walk upon a labouring day without signing your profession. Speak. What trade art thou?
why, sir, carpenter.
Where is thy leather apron and thy rule? What dost thou thy best apparel on? You, sir, what trade are you?
Truly, sir, in respect of a fine workman, I am but, as you would say, a cobbler.
But what trade art thou? Answer me directly.
A trade, sir, that I hope I may use with a safe conscience, which is indeed, sir, a mender of bad souls.
What trade, thou knave, thou naughty knave, what trade?
I beseech you, sir, be not out with me. Yet if you be out, sir, I can mend you.
What meanest thou by that? Mend me, thou saucy fellow?
Why, sir, cobble you?
Thou art a cobbler, art thou?
Truly, sir, I am indeed, sir, a surgeon to old souls. When they're in great danger, I recovered them. Proper men as ever trod upon neat leather have gone upon my handiwork.
But wherefore art not in thy shop today?
Indeed, sir, they make holiday to see Caesar and to rejoice in his triumph.
You blocks, you stones, you worse than senseless things. Oh, you hard hearts, you cruel men of Rome. Knew you not Pompey? Many a time and oft have you climbed up to walls and battlements, to towers and windows, yea, to chimney tops, your infants in your arms. And there have sat the livelong day with patient expectation to see great Pompey pass the streets of Rome. And when you saw his chariot but appear, have you not made an universal shout that Tiber trembled underneath her banks to hear the replication of your sounds made in her concave shores? And do you now put on your best attire? And do you now come out a holiday? And do you now strew flowers in his way that comes in triumph over Pompey's blood? Be gone! Run to your houses, fall upon your knees, pray to the gods to intermit the plague which needs must light on this ingratitude.
Go. Go, good countrymen, and for this fault assemble all the poor men of your sort. Draw them to Tiber bank and weep your tears into the channel, till the lowest streams do kiss the most exalted shores of all. We vanish tongue-tied in their guiltiness. That's why you allowed to smoke the images.
May we do so.
Let no images be hung with Caesar's trophies. You also soar above the view of men, keep us all in servile faithfulness.
I am delighted to welcome Matt Ray Brown and Ian Dunnett Jr. to the show. Welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Yay. Hello there.
Thank you.
Matt, having done a monologue before and now coming into a duologue setting, like how was this challenge for you compared to last time?
Oh, totally different, but also just really, really fascinating. Getting to grips with an edited together duologue from different parts of Henry IV. And it was much more like a rehearsal room because we'd got the three-way Zoom meetings with Ian, with the director, Charlotte Conquest. And she would also call in on Zoom meetings whilst we were filming.
Yeah.
So you'd have kind of the director's presence there all the time. Now it's just fab to do a duologue, and with a fine young actor as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Ian, working with Matt Ray Brown on this, MRB is obviously a favourite here at the barn. He's a bit of a legend around these parts. Sorry, but yeah, we like Matt a lot, obviously. But I was wondering, did you strike up as good a rapport with MRB off camera as you did on? Have you made friends?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think one of the first things that Matt disagrees. That's one of the because one of the first things that we did was film all of the Hal and Falstaff bits, and I think that's literally. I think we'd met once before that, and then we were just out in the garden, or I was in my room with drinks and just pretending to be absolutely immortal and getting up to all sorts of mischief. So that was actually really, really good for like our relationship straight off the bat, because it meant that we were just kind of thrown in and just no inhibitions. So it was really good.
Yeah, that was great fun.
That reminds me slightly, Matt, of a certain night out in Cirencester, filming some stuff for Henry V. Just the drinking and how that rapport then blends itself into the actual work.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to start off any project, Matt.
Definitely, yeah. The only time that you're licensed to drink whilst working on a project.
Yeah.
Then I will add that in our filming, for me, it was non-alcoholic lager.
Whereas
as it was daytime,
and the other side. Yeah, sorry.
I'm not at that point in my life when I do daytime drinking.
Well, this is Matt Ray Brown and Ian Dunnett Jr. in Henry IV Part 1, directed by Charlotte Conquest.
I know not whether God will have it so for some displeasing service I have done, that in his secret doom, out of my blood he'll breed revengement and a scourge for me.
I shall hereafter, my thrice gracious lord, be more myself.
For all the world now by my sceptre and my soul to boot, Hotspur hath more worthy interest to the state than thou, the shadow of succession.
Do not think so. You shall not find it so.
God forgive them, so much I've swayed your majesty's good thoughts away from me. I will redeem all this, and in the closing of some glorious day be bold to tell you that I am your son, when I will wear a garment all of blood, and stain my favours in a bloody mask, which washed away shall scour my shame with it. And that shall be the day, whene'er it lights that this same child of honour and renown, this gallant Hotspur, this all-praised knight, and your unthought of Harry chance to meet. For every honour sitting on his helm, would they were multitudes, and on my head my shames redoubled. For the time will come that I will make this northern youth exchange his glorious deeds for my indignities. Percy is but my factor, good my lord, to engross up glorious deeds on my behalf. This in the name of God I promise here, the which if he be pleased I shall perform. I do beseech your majesty may salve the long-grown wounds of my intemperance. If not, the end of life cancels all bans, and I will die 100,000 deaths ere break the smallest parcel of this vow.
Our hands are full of business. Let's away. Advantage fills him fat while men delay.
Oh, gotta love a bit of Matt Ray Brown right there. That is MRB in your face. Right, that was your historical lesson courtesy of Bar from the Barn. And as ever, we're going to look now at what is coming up next week from some Shakespeare plays that are less familiar, shall we say, to you all.
What? Wilt thou flout me thus unto my face, being forbid? Take you that, sir knave.
Oh, heavens be true. What wicked deem is this? Oh, heavens, you love me not.
Oh, well. As for him, he brought his disease hither. Here he does but repair it. I know he shall come in our shadow to scatter his crowns in the sun.
Hearing your high majesty is touched with that malignant cause wherein the honour of my gift stands chief in power, I come to tender it and my appliance with all bound humbleness.
So, lesser known gems. Looking forward to it. I'm sure you are too. We'll see you next week, Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday at 9:30 a.m. for your next Bard Review. Have a good one.